years of All right. Thanks for coming in, everyone. Welcome. My name is Mackenzie. I'm Ken and Lisa's daughter, the youngest, kind of taking over the place. So I'm going to be around more often. You'll see my face everywhere. So welcome in. Let me move this for you guys. See a little bit better there? So we're going to talk about fast-growing trees today. I'm also going to go over watering and planting, and then stuff to use to help in our environment to make things successful in our landscape. I don't know how many of you are new, but if you've tried planting at all recently, it takes some getting used to be on our soil or dirt, learn how to make things live. Once you get it, you're going to get it. It's just kind of those initial stages of learning how to plant and grow here. I'm going to be passing around this sign-up sheet. This is for the handouts. So handouts are going to be obviously a planting guide. We kind of throw that out every class because it's important here. Pruning basics, because it's time to maybe start thinking about pruning, at least your trees and stuff. So just handed that out. And then I'm going to hand out Ken's article on fast-growing trees. It's kind of going to summarize what I'm talking about a little bit on trees. So we're going to hand those out. So if you're a garden member, this is not the same list. You're not going to get it if you don't sign up here. This is the only way you're going to be able to get these handouts. So I'm going to start here, pass it around. And then is there anyone new or anything, anyone on trees that are new to planting trees or anything? Well, we'll use your hand first. So you get the handout. So everyone else will get it. But I can print out whatever, but we just try to save trees by not printing about a bunch of stuff. So I'm going to talk about the trees first because I know planting and watering is going to take up a lot of time because I know there's going to be a lot of questions on that because we almost have a full class on it whenever we do it. So I'm going to talk about these quick trees first, and then we'll go into the other stuff. So I will just get right into it. We'll talk about, I brought in some bigger trees, so like shade trees, take a bunch of space. I know I also brought in some mid-sized trees for like privacy. If people want to plant to block an RV or they want to plant to block a neighbor. I know there's lots of new homes going in that are kind of, I've heard a lot of stuff about blocking neighbors. So I'll kind of do both so you can kind of decide what kind of size tree you need. We'll start over here. So these will be on the list that is in Ken's article. So this is a ornamental pear. Chanticleer is its name. But it's an ornamental pear, doesn't throw off the fruit like your normal pears. This guy gets big. It's kind of a triangle shape. It's 40 by 20 is what it gets. And it grows about 3 to 4 feet a year once it's rooted. So when I talk about how fast stuff grows, it's after the first year. Because the first year is always going to be about root growth. It's never going to grow big. It's just going to focus on roots first. And then it will get faster after that. It decides where it wants to spend its energy. So this guy, if you notice around town in the spring, it's kind of one of the first mid things to bloom. It's that white blooming tree all around town. So you kind of get apples and then you get pears that bloom white around town. If it's in a triangle shape, it's an ornamental pear. So this guy, nothing, I mean, deer don't eat it. The young ones might nibble at it when it's young like this because it's just there, but they're not going to strip it or eat anything like that. Bugs kind of very rarely go for it. I don't get a lot of bug problems with this tree. And then you just get pretty blooms. So it's like, why not? I know people say the Bradford pear kind of has a smell to it. People either love it or hate it. I've not noticed a smell with this guy and its blooms. Kind of just has a sweeter smell, but it's not super strong. So you don't get that like the Bradford does. If some people don't like the Bradford. So this is the Chanticleer. It does turn a fall color. It does kind of get a reddish hue to it in the fall. So it is kind of a nice fall color turn as well. These guys will start turning here in 2 months or so. Kind of depends on the season. But they'll turn in the next 2 months. You'll notice, you come up afterwards, you'll see some stuff like some curling leaves and things like that. Thrip, T-H-R-I-P. It's a little insect. You don't see it, but if you notice like dust in the air, that's thrip. Okay, you notice in the morning with the sunlight, Sometimes they'll go for this tree, but as long as you do some protectants, I'll tell you in a second, you're not gonna have a problem with this tree. Okay, very, very minimal watering as well. Doesn't take a lot of water. It's kind of drought tolerant. I would say it's not the most drought hardy, but it doesn't suck up a bunch of water. So it's kind of in between, which is nice because it has this waxy leaf. It holds a lot of moisture within itself. So you're not watering it all the time. Obviously, so like this is a good example. I don't know if you can see it. This is like the new growth for this season. And this started out with nothing. I broke it off. Don't yell at me. But that's like all new growth right there. So it grows pretty fast. I pruned it. You know, we'll go into pruning. So that's new growth. So it grows really fast for what a tree should grow. Full term, I mean, things take probably 7 to 8 years to grow to full, like that 40 feet. But you'll get at least twice the size within 5. 40 feet by like 20. So just nice shade tree. It handles Chino Valley, handles Prescott Valley. It likes the heat without taking a ton of water. It does. Yeah, all these things beside, I'll tell you, most of the stuff I'm going to talk about first loses leaves. Any deciduous shade tree, it's going to lose its leaves, unfortunately. But they do leaf out pretty early. I mean, they'll leaf out March or April, depending on when we get a freeze. They did get reset this year at that last freeze we got. You notice things were budding, things were doing well, like maples. They were budding and looking nice. We got that last freeze, reset them super hard. They budded out super late this year. So it kind of just depends on the year. Since we're talking about that, everyone probably knows what this is. This is a maple tree. Autumn blaze maple. This is like the #1 tree you see around town. This guy, I'm trying to face that. This guy turns bright red in the fall. It's one of the reddest things you'll see around town. And they're just beautiful. They grow like 40 by 40. They are huge shade trees. Now, there are lots of different maples you can buy of different sizes and stuff. This is just the biggest. Handles the wind, handles the heat. I mean, even for a big leaf, it doesn't get shredded apart in that wind sometimes like you'll see other trees. It grows like 4 or 5 feet a year. It's the fastest growing tree, #1. Because of that, it takes a lot of water. It buds out super fast. It grows super fast. So it does take quite a bit of water to get it going. And it will probably need water every year, even if it's established. But once it's in, maybe once a month or so. And that's like 3 or 4 years down the line. Okay, so trade-off for growing fast is you got to water it quite a bit. I'll get to watering in a second on all these trees because it's kind of different. Doesn't really bloom or anything. It just kind of throws off its leaves, grows, and then gets that really red in September and October again. And then it does lose its leaves end of October, November, again, depending on the season. So autumn blaze maple or Prescott maple. Ken likes to call it the Prescott maple. Some people get confused on that. This guy. I don't know. Did I go over him enough? Any questions? Because he's just so easy. Bugs don't really, I don't notice thrip going after this guy because he leaves out a little bit later. The thrip are already gone, so you're not fighting that leaf curl that you see on some trees. Again, deer, they might nibble on it, but they're not going to strip it down. If they're desperate, the babies kind of try it, stuff like that. But they're not going to eat it. Yeah, and all the animals kind of leave it alone. So he's just a great solid tree for around here. Yeah, I'm going to leave time for questions, I promise, because I know there'll be a lot. But I like to wait till after my planting and watering because then I answer most of them. Yeah, I'm probably going to, I'll leave this to like 20 minutes and then I'll go into the other stuff. So I know people are excited. This guy's also popular around town. This is more of a mid-sized shade tree. So I know some people have smaller yards. This is Crater Vesuvius KV plum. This is 20 by 20, 20 feet tall, 20 feet wide. So it's kind of a nicer small tree. Again, grows like 2 or 3 feet a year, maybe 4 if it's truly happy. Minimal watering as well. This guy kind of is drought tolerant, likes to just be watered occasionally, deeply, and then leave alone. It does bloom bright, light pink in the spring. So it is kind of the first to bloom around here. And then it kind of throws off the yellow or the purple leaves. Again, nothing eats it. Nothing really goes after it. You do kind of see shot hole in this guy. If you walk around town, shot hole. I don't know if this guy has it. Literally looks like you just took a shotgun and shot the leaf. and it just has holes in it, okay? They're prone to that. You don't really notice them when they're big trees because they're just so full, you don't notice it. But again, I'll show you a fungal treatment to treat that. But they're very common for here. Nothing eats it. They don't like this kind of leaf texture. I've had deer try it. Again, deer try everything, especially this year. They're desperate. They want water. So they might try it, but they're not going to strip it down. Yeah, 2 to 3 feet a year. Again, full size. You'll get full size in maybe 7 to 8. It will grow a good chunk in like 4 to 5 years. Okay, just depends how happy it is. This one extremely loves that Chino PV dewy area, and it doesn't get ripped apart by the wind because the leaves are a little smaller. So it is greater for those areas out there, I would say. KB plum, yes, loses its leaves, unfortunately. Okay, I'll do 2 more, and then I'll kind of go into the planting and watering. I'll talk about evergreens in a second, but since the class isn't really on it, we'll get to it. This one is a red oak. Oaks do fabulous here. I thought they were slow growers in a Red Ken's article. I'm like, no, they grow pretty fast for an oak. The reason people think they're slow is because they get so big. They get like 40 feet by 30. It just takes them a while to get to that size because from here to 40 feet, it's kind of a lot. But it grows like 3 feet a year, which for a tree is pretty good. Red oaks are one of the hardiest. I would say they're on the most drought hardy side of trees. They have like kind of a fuzzy kind of leaf to them, so they hold moisture, and nothing wants to eat that. Kind of a harsh leaf. Deer don't like it. I've never had them try this. Not to say they won't, but they don't really like this leaf. Bugs don't come after it. It does leaf out pretty late in the season, kind of later May, when the thrip are already gone. So you're not fighting leaf curl bugs. Doesn't get fungal. This guy, you just water it, leave it alone. Okay, you just kind of ignore it. These turn pretty red in the fall as well. They'll turn over reddish brown, but more red. Really pretty in the fall. So these are just great, again, for those harsher outside climates, but even in Prescott. They can handle that even shade, full sun, a mixture if you need, but they do like more full sun here. But red oaks, pin oak, I have a Joan Leonetti oak. Any of them do fabulous here. This is just kind of the faster growing oak that you can find. Doesn't throw up a lot of leaf litter either. I know some people are worried about that, like seed heads or things like that. I've never had oaks be that problem. Any of these other trees I'm showing don't throw off seed pods. They don't throw off a lot of runners. None of these I'm showing they throw off runners that run around, rip things up or stuff like that. I know people like, on the list you'll see aspens. I don't like talking about aspens a lot here because they are a lot of work. They are super pretty. So you can grow them here. They take a ton of water. You're going to water it 3 or 4 times a week when it's new. Okay. And you got to water deep. If you don't water deep on aspens, they will send up runners everywhere trying to find water, and you'll just be fighting them a lot. And there's no weed killer or anything you throw on it that won't kill the main tree. So you just got to constantly cut off the runners. That's the only reason I don't like aspens. They are beautiful for here. I'd rather do a birch. Birch tree gets you the white bark without being invasive, without having to water a lot. So if you're going to pick, I lean towards the birch, but I can go more later. But aspen will be on the list. It grows super fast. Doesn't get wide. Aspens are made for clumps, and they kind of just fill a vertical space and they're done. So they do get tall. They get like 30 feet tall. They don't get super wide. So they'll probably get 6, 8 feet wide. So you're just getting them for the look. They turn a bright yellow in the fall. Really pretty in the fall color. Birches also turn yellow too. I think some turn maybe a red, but could be wrong. I think we just have yellows that they turn. So it gets lots of fall color. Okay. I just don't like aspens myself, so I won't talk about it that much. Do one more tree here, and then I'll get into planting. So this is a small tree. I'm just gonna have you turn the camera because this thing's heavy. So this is a mid-sized tree that you doesn't get a trunk on it. It's just kind of is a bigger bush. This is a chase tree, C-H-A-S-T-E, chase tree. It's one of the few blooming trees around here. This blooms in the summer, all summer. So it just started about a month and a half ago. These kind of bright purple blooms. Kind of looks like a butterfly bush bloom, if people get them confused, but this is a lot bigger and hardier, I would say. Nothing eats it. They don't like the limbs. They don't like the taste of it. Deer, javelina, stuff like that. Butterflies, hummingbirds love it, mostly butterflies. So it kind of brings in them for the summer, brings those butterflies in, and then creates a kind of a thick shrub. So this is more if you're blocking a neighbor. This guy gets probably like 15 by 10. You can keep it trimmed down if you need as well, because you can keep it to, I would say, 10 to 8 feet if you want. I just let it grow, but it becomes thicker, and so you can't really see through it. So it's kind of a nice block that's pretty. Again, not evergreen, it is deciduous, and it does leaf out pretty late in the season. But once it leaves out, it grows like crazy. I mean, this was just sticks, and it grew all this within a year, or within 2 months. So it grows really fast, okay? Super drought tolerant as well, actually. So it doesn't like a bunch of water, likes to be deeply watered for a little bit, and then cut it off, and then maybe once a week watering kind of thing. So this is kind of more full-grown size. This one, it's kind of a little smaller version. You can always go smaller. Again, this was like this tall, and then it's already grown up. So it was like that tall, and now it's grown up.
But you're saying that will still become that.
Yeah, this is a dwarf version. So this gets 8 feet by 8 feet. So if you don't want to cut it down, you're like, I just want a small version, 8 feet, which for a fence, you know, if you're blocking a fence or something, this is great. But the big ones, if you get a small version of it, will get this big. Okay, so this is just a chase tree. This is a galactic dwarf. This one blooms pink. I have a pinkish bloom, if you can see that. So I just brought this up to show you kind of a dwarf version of it, but again, it grows just as fast.
Does this one over here fill in? It looks fairly sparse right now.
Yeah, it fills in. So once this kind of grows and stuff fills in, it will. It'll get kind of a thick bush. Yeah, you're not going to be able to see through it a lot. That one gets like 15 by 15, I would say, and you can keep it trimmed down. Okay, let me move this out of the way. Okay, let me get into the stuff you want to talk about. Let's talk about planting, and then I'll talk about watering. So, get all my products here. Planting. So you will get the planting guide, but you'll need these products to be successful. And then I'm going to use this as an example because I can't lift a tree and show you the roots. Okay, so I'm going to use this as an example. Most important thing for planting is the mulch. If you're going to get anything, get mulch with the tree. Our ground here, whoever has tried planting, you either get rocks or you get clay that is a cement. And it takes all day to dig a hole, okay? Once you dig that hole, your tree needs some help. It doesn't like to be thrown from nice soil into clay and rock. Just it hates it. So it shocks itself. If you can throw some of the this soil into it, some mulch with your native soil, it kind of eases it into its growing area. Okay, it kind of goes from a little bit of the soil that it's in into your clay, and then it gets used to it as it grows out. So mulch is important. You cannot use all mulch, you will burn your roots. This guy has been sitting out in a field for a while, so it is composted down. It's kind of our compost for anyone who thinks mulch is just the bark. It's not. This is kind of a dirt bark mix. Mix it with your native soil, so it's 50-50, okay? 50% to 50%. This also helps create air, kind of air pockets, and also holds moisture. So it kind of just creates an overall round good hole for your plants. With this, for planting, so let me throw this guy. I make a mess, sorry, a little violent here. So if you have, so this is a 5-gallon bucket, that's kind of a 10. Whatever size bucket you have, you go twice as wide, okay? Things need to have room out here than depth. You don't really need depth. So twice as wide, same depth as the bucket you have, okay? Because of that, because we don't have tap roots here. Things don't like to go down, they go out. Because of that cement clay layer, things don't go down. They'll go down to an extent, and then they'll go sideways. So it's more important to give them root depth this way than it is down. Okay, now if you're sitting on a rock shelf, you kind of got to deal with that however you need, jackhammer or something, or move your tree. But that's generally the idea. Twice as wide, same depth. Yes. Yeah, jackhammer is kind of like, you'll just need it. Just assume you'll need a jackhammer or someone who has a jackhammer, okay? I had my dad who was able to dig a hole. So I can't do it. So that's kind of your hole. Now, if you pull out a lot of rock, anything bigger than a golf ball, get rid of it. You don't want it in that hole, okay? If you have rock or clay that you can't break apart, get rid of it. Your tree's not going to grow in it. It's not going to help. Whatever you have left, you do your native soil and your mulch. If you do not have native soil left in your hole, then you want topsoil to mix in with your mulch because you can't plant in mulch straight, okay? This is just filler dirt. You fill holes, you level out stuff. That's what topsoil is. It's not much more than that, okay? It does have some sand in it. It does help with some drainage, but this is just filler dirt. This creates the airspace, the moisture retention, and all that, okay? Once you dig your hole, once you get your soil ready, pull your tree out. It's going to look like that, okay? Pretty much. It's going to be the shape of the bucket that it came in, okay? You want to break up this root ball. You don't need to be aggressive about it. I kind of am, but you don't need to be. You just need to take a knife or your hands and just break it up so these little white roots can get out of the bucket shape and go a different direction. Okay, so like that's it's like you guys need you're in the splash zone, okay? That's kind of what I would do. You can do it a little bit more, but all you need is these roots to get out of the bucket shape and go a different direction. Okay? Then you'll plant it. I can show you on a tree better than this. So you kind of notice on this guy. Come up here. So you can see. So if you don't know if you can see afterwards too. Right here is where they grafted the tree onto a rootstock. Okay? You don't want to bury that. If you bury that, your tree will rot, get crown rot, and die pretty fast. So pretty much where it's at, where the dirt's at in your buckets, where you want to bury it to. Don't go deeper than that, okay? So this right here at level where this kind of rootstock is, that's where I'd bury it to, okay? So kind of right there, level right there is where I'd bury it, okay? You can always, if you have a lot of clay, and you don't have rock yet, clay, you can always mound it, kind of raise it a little bit above ground level, and then put dirt around it so the water goes sideways. You don't want to be like Phoenix. We're not like Phoenix. They bury their stuff and they have water sitting in it. You can't do that here. You will instantly rot out your trees, your plants, anything. So always go this way with your hill or where your water goes away from the root stock, okay? You can put a well around it. You can do that stuff. That's fine. Just make sure water doesn't go towards the base of the tree or plant or anything, okay? Otherwise, plant it level or above, okay? I go level because I have a lot of clay, but I hate watering, so I just go level so I never have to water. I don't want the water away from the root ball. But yeah, wells, if you do a well, wherever the tree line ends is where you put your well. Okay, it's kind of a good rule of thumb. I'd put the well right here on this guy. So it's kind of wherever your tree line ends. And then you do move the well out as the tree goes older if you can. You don't want, if the tree gets 20 feet, you don't want that well right around the base. It's going to do nothing. Okay, you got to dig the well out, move your irrigation out as it gets older. But once you plant it in, once you get the dirt back into it, you're going to water it and almost drown it, okay? Your soil is so dry here. We've had no moisture, maybe a little bit, but not enough. So our soil is really dry here. So you need to almost drown your tree. Anything newly planted, drown it to begin with that first day, maybe the second day, to hydrate your soil and your root ball. I know a lot of people plant something new and they put it on drip and they give it 2 gallons of water. That 2 gallons goes immediately to your dirt. It doesn't go to the plant, and then in 2 days it dries out and it dies. So you got to hydrate both of them so you're not fighting the dirt with your watering. Okay, so that's newly planted. Just give it a drink, then put it on your system. Then put it on your drip system. For trees, especially your windy areas, Chino Valley, Prescott Valley, Dewey, you will need to stake newly planted trees. Okay, this even goes for evergreens. They need to be staked because the wind, the snow, will make it lean or make it fall out of the ground. Once it starts leaning and it grows that way, it will never stop growing that way. It will always forever grow at a lean. So you got to catch it early, make it grow straight. Once it roots, the tree's going to do what it's going to do. where it's growing. Okay, so this guy, you know, I don't know if you move the camera because I don't want to move it again. So you're going to put it on either side of the tree, wherever your wind is coming from. So if the wind's coming from this direction, I'm going to plant a stake here and on the other side. Okay, so wherever the wind comes from is where you want to put your stakes. Either side of the tree. This little V-strap goes around the trunk, and then you take the wire and you wrap it around either side. Okay? You don't want to do it too tight where your tree doesn't move and it just stays still. You want to have some give to it, but the V-straps catch it before it completely falls over and starts leaning. You don't want a little give to it, but not much. Okay? I've had a lot of trees, people don't stake it, it does just fine, and then the snow comes and it breaks in half, it just falls out of the ground. I've had a lot of trees, even if they're older, fall out of the ground because they're just so lightly rooted. So you want to leave these on for at least 2 years, I would say. 2 years minimum, maybe 3. And then you can pull them out and you're doing fine. I have had people, like, they don't like the look of the lodgepole, they're like, it ruins my landscape. You can do rebar. Rebar is just as good because it doesn't snap, it doesn't break, and it kind of blends in with the landscape. So I have one of my guys, he does rebar all the time with his newly planted trees. And it just blends in. So it's just, if you don't want to do this, do rebar. Okay?
How long will we take?
2 to 3 years. 2 years minimum. 1 year is not enough. The last thing you'll do is a root and grow, super thrive, stuff like that. I like root and grow because it's like a fermented tea, really thick liquid. You mix it in water and you pour it on your tree or newly planted shrub every week until you start seeing some new growth. Okay, or every 2 weeks. I think it's like 4 tablespoons per gallon. So it's not a lot, but it's enough to help with transplant shock. You know, if you plant the new things and they go yellow or they lose all their leaves, that's transplant shock. So if you use this, it will kind of help it, especially in the heat of the season or things that were a little harsh. This just helps it root out a little faster. Root and grow. Yep, root and grow. You want to water first and then throw it on. So I would suggest after drip system, go throw a bucket of it on, you know, stuff like that. Because again, you don't want the soil to take it. You want your tree to take the nutrients. So just kind of after a watering, throw it on. That's how you plant anything. That's just how you plant a tree. But that goes for anything, a shrub, a perennial. You kind of plant it all the same way. It just depends how much dirt you use. That's the difference. Yep. Yep. Anything newly planted, anything you're moving, this goes for house plants, anything. This is the great stuff. Okay, once it's established, so after like 4 or 5 months, things are established usually in terms of they're kind of lightly rooted in, they kind of got through the shock. You want to move to granular. That is not a long-term solution. Okay, that is a short-term to get things in. Once things are rooted, once things are planted, you move to a granular. This is our all-purpose plant food, 744. Okay, I don't like synthetics. Once you get to a 10-10-10, it's a synthetic. I don't like it a lot, especially those liquids, because once you do, because you have to water so deep here, those liquids are gone instantly, or they go into your well water, or they just leave. Okay, this sticks around a lot longer, 3 to 4 months. You can't really overuse it. I don't really measure stuff, but it does have instructions on the bag. I just chuck it around my tree, water it in, and let it sit there for 3 to 4 months. Okay, I use it 3 times a year. Halloween is next. We got to go by holidays. So Halloween is next. New Year's. You can do Easter if you want. It's a good one to do because things are waking up. And then 4th of July. Your summer, all your feedings are important. If you're going to do anything, do your fall and your spring. As things go to sleep, they'll take the nutrients and kind of hold it. And as they wake up, because they use a lot of nutrients, you want to give them it at that time. That's usually March, that Easter time. Okay, those are the 2 most important feedings. July just helps because things are stressed. They're yellowing. They're getting fungal. They need a little help. That's why we like summer feeding. Okay, so all of this can go in anything and everything. It is all natural. It's got bone meal and stuff in it, so you put it in because dogs do like it. It's not going to hurt them, but I've had a lab get into it, throw up. He was fine, but like they like it. Okay, so just water it in, you're good to go. They're not going to eat a bunch of it. Yeah, it smells a lot, stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah. But it works well because of that. Yeah. All purpose plant food, anything and everything. Okay, yeah. Okay, so watering newly planted stuff. So I'm talking about new stuff planted. Don't mind the dirt. So I'll do trees first. So we always fight landscapers, always fight other people about what watering schedules are here. We like deeper waterings less often. So you get the root ball hydrated, and then you let it dry out. This is like a 15-gallon tree bucket. So new planted's gonna want 15 gallons twice a week. Okay. 10 gallons, 10 gallon twice a week. Okay, so whatever gallon size you buy is pretty much what you're gonna give it 2 times a week. Okay, this is for trees and shrubs. Okay. When you water it, just really soak it, let it get hydrated. You're almost drowning it at the time. But twice a week, it's got enough dry out. Okay, so the roots aren't going to rot. You also want to train your tree to look for water a little bit. Because if you're watering it every day, the roots are going to stay right there, and they're not going to want to go anywhere. So it's just going to fall over. So if you dry out time, teaches it to kind of look for water, root out more as it grows, and then you give it a good drink, and then you let it dry out again. Okay? Because we also have clay. A lot of people are fighting fungal this year, surprisingly. The clay holds a lot of moisture, and your trees are okay with that, especially your drought hardy stuff. So you might have to do once a week. Okay, it depends on your area, but twice a week is generally what you want to do. Okay, for shrubs and perennials, probably 3 times a week, just because they're a smaller root ball. I mean, you water that twice a week, that's going to dry out instantly. Okay, so this is probably more like 3 times a week for any in a 1 or 2 gallon. Something like that. Okay, it's all about how much roots that it has to start with. That's a really quick watering lesson. I can answer more questions about it, but that could take all day, so I'll answer them as you need. But even in pots I water. I think I water mine once a week, maybe twice in this heat because it's on a south wall. I don't water more than that. I water it so the water falls out the base, but I don't do these 10-minute waterings because it's almost like giving it a glass of water and going, live. You got this. And then you're like, that's not enough. That just hydrates the soil. It doesn't hydrate the root ball. So you'll notice sometimes with our potting soil, it has peat moss in it. If it goes too dry, that water is just going to slough off the side. So you really got to hydrate it, get it soaking, and then let it dry out. Okay.
How long do I leave it on for?
So she has a hose. Yeah. Yeah, so kind of depends. I would say at least half hour to an hour. So it's a slow soak. You do want to move it around. So I'd probably half hour. Now, if it's a lot of rock and stuff, I might do a full hour. Okay.
Just a chip water flow out of a hose comes out at 2 gallons a minute.
Okay. You're saying that's what it does?
Huh?
You're saying that's what it does?
That's
okay.
generally what the water flow is out of a hose.
Okay, so you're saying 2 gallons a minute for a hose.
Obviously, it depends on the pressure at your house. But,
yeah,
but
that's good.
typically, that's what your valve will allow.
Okay, so yeah, so 2 gallons a minute. So it just depends on how you cut it off. But yeah, especially for things like for my native stuff that I kind of take off drip because I will run the risk of overwatering it. I'll go out and water it once a week, and I'll just slow soak it for an hour, but I'll move that hose around every 20 minutes or so, or stuff like that. Okay, so yeah. Okay, all right. So this is a hard one. This is a lot of people. So she's basically got one system doing her trees and her shrubs, and that's a lot of people. A lot of people when you set it up, they can't talk about it. They do one thing for everything. That's really hard to water. Kind of got to play around with it. This is where you got to learn it. I always put maybe like 2 drips heads to my trees and maybe 1 to my shrubs. And then you got to play with the with how long you want stuff. I have one system. I run it 1 day a week, 100 minutes trees, and I maybe put a 2 gallon on my trees and maybe 1 gallon on my shrubs. Okay, but I had to play with that. I had to like figure it out. That it is a hard way to do it, but bigger gallon size on your trees, smaller ones on your shrubs. Okay, and you run it for like an hour or so, and then let it really dry out in between. Okay, you might have to supplement water some of your shrubs sometimes, but I'd rather not overwater than it is for overwatering. Okay, because things for underwater here, they kind of adapted. They know how to do it. So as long as they're still pliable limbs, as long as you can still bend them, and if they lost all the leaves, they'll come back. Okay, if you overwater and this part dies off, it's not going to come back. You got to trim it back, cut your tree back, and it takes a while to come out of it. So always choose underwater, if anything. Okay, that's really, yeah. We can talk more about your specific water systems if you need, because that's just a hard thing to play with. But you'll get it anything like that. Yeah.
When you water or you drip, do you drip to the edge of the leaf?
Yeah, so put your drip system on the edge of the tree line, and you got to move it out as it gets older, because that's where your feeder roots are. Those are where the roots actually pick up stuff. If your emitters are still where the base is and that tree is like 10 years old, that's just a thick trunk at this point. Can you even see me over here in the sun? Yeah, say something. Okay, so yeah, move your water system out. Anything else on that? Because otherwise I'm going to go into some products that will help bugs and all that stuff, okay? All right. There's been 3 main problems this year, or 2 main problems every year. But the bugs have been bad this year. Because we didn't really have a winter to wipe them out, they have just been a constant problem for so long, this entire year, when normally they're not this bad, okay? So early spring, so we have kind of 2 bug seasons. We have early spring, and then we have the summer. So the first things to come out are thrips. You only see it under a microscope, or if you take your phone or a white piece of paper, knock your tree onto it, you see things crawling. That's thrip. Okay. First things to come out in the season. They hate the heat, so once we get above 85, they leave and they're gone. But they're here in the spring. Fruit trees, especially, they'll go after it. So that curling leaf, you see something curl, and you're like, "That's not a watering issue. What is that?" That's an insect that got in there. Curl hides. If you catch it early enough, you can do sayonara. Sayonara is a synthetic chrysanthemums, so it's not going to kill you or anything else, but it kills the bugs. This is also kind of preventative. Works up to 8 weeks as a preventative to kind of keep things out of your garden. Okay, takes out almost every bug. Beetles are a little different on this because it's not as strong. Beetles take a little bit while grasshoppers take a little bit, but it kills all those aphids, thrip, stuff like that. Something that flies in or crawls. Okay, it takes care of it. I just, and now I've been fighting on the aphids here, the Craig Myrtle. This is not like a once and done project, okay, especially for here. You gotta spray it a little bit. Once you're on top of it, you're good to go. But in the springtime, this is a great product. It doesn't, you can use it on certain fruit, not all fruit. You do have to be careful what you use it on. But I do have a spray, the neem oil, the triple action, that can go on fruit. It won't get in, it won't penetrate in that layer, so you can eat the fruit. Just wash it off. Okay. Good morning or late afternoon. Do not spray midday, you'll burn your leaves. It's not oil based, but it's just always good practice. Okay.
Is it going to kill off the caterpillars that are for monarchs?
It can. So yeah, you just any spray for bugs is probably going to kill off those eggs or monarchs. You just got to decide if you want what you want to do. Bees and stuff, like ladybugs, bees, praying mantis, it will kill them. But if you spray in the early morning or the late evening when everything kind of goes to bed, you have a better chance of not killing those beneficial insects. Okay, so you got those butterfly eggs and stuff like that. If you don't want to do a spray, because I know a lot of people don't want to do sprays, or trees are too big, you can't spray it. Those pines and stuff. Tree and shrub drench. This is my #1 seller for anything going on with trees, for insects, borers, leaf miner, anything that gets into the tree and also is on the tree. Okay, this is great for evergreens. This is my #1 for evergreens. This guy I use once a year, so it goes through the whole year. So usually I use it in March before things wake up. That way it protects for the summer. Okay, especially you're like the pines that are getting wiped out right now from the borers and stuff, also from dryness. This will help with that. So you can either pay someone a bunch of money to do that stuff for you, or I always suggest protect the trees closest to your house. Ones that are creating the shade for you, don't want to lose. This is a great product. Okay, you mix it 1 ounce per inch of tree trunk diameter. Okay, so for like the big pines, you're doing almost the whole 32 ounce bottle. It just keeps things really healthy when we're in a stress environment. If your tree gets stressed, it invites in more chaos, invites in more bugs, more fungal, more issues. Keep your tree healthy to start. You don't have to fight those products as much, those bugs or things as much. Inch of trunk diameter, 1 ounce of inch trunk diameter. Yeah. Mix it with water. This guy's a little counterintuitive. You do pour it right on the base of the tree. The trunk, because it goes up through that cambium layer. So if you can get it right on in the trunk. Everything else, if you pour it in anything, again, the tree edge. This is the only thing you pour in the trunk. Mix it in water, pour it right on once a year. So like I had to do my pinions in the scale. Scale was really bad this year. If you notice your pines looking yellow or life gone from them, sapping really bad, that was scale. I saved all my trees by doing this because anything that eats on your tree, it will kill. For little bugs, not animals or things. Tree and shrub drench. Yep. I think that's everything on that product. But #1, I would always suggest for anything. Okay. Again, you can use that on fruit trees too. I think it's just like, I think it's nectarines. It's certain, there's one tree you can't use it on for a fruit tree. It will tell you, okay? Everything else, it doesn't get into the fruit tree, doesn't get into that days for harvest. I think it's like 20 days. So you can't use it now on fruit trees, okay? The last product I'll touch on for anyone having fungal, so like that mold problem or things, powdery mildew, shot hole, black spot. If you notice some of the fungal things on I've had a lot of things on the trunks this year of stuff, like treat that. This is a fungicide 5. Fungicide 5. You mix it in water. Again, you can use it as a drench or a spray. I like drenching because that is where your problem is usually coming from, and it's showing up in the tree. So I like to drench it. Pour it on the outskirts of your tree. Okay. This is again 1 teaspoon per gallon. So it is pretty constant. It has a problem, but it stops it from spreading, stops it from getting worse, and kind of heals the tree that way. Okay. So roses get powdery mildew a lot. They just can't. Okay, this helps with that. Yeah. So aphids on the buds. If you have aphids that you can see season, and so you notice when a rose won't open or it gets black tips, that's thrip as well. This might be better for it if you have thrip. This is why you have a class to go back to, right? It's a lot of information. And there's so much more I could share. I try to whittle it down. But yeah, anything, if your buds don't open on anything, use tree drop drench, it'll help. Okay, so those are kind of your main products because we've been dry, but our soil stayed moist. So it's a good idea to let things dry out right now. Okay, they need a heavy drink, let them dry out. The soil soil is not drying out that much right now. Okay, this year the animals are desperate. They're going after tree roots. They're going after tree limbs. They're scratching stuff up. Porcupines have been bad. Things are just, you kind of risk trapping stuff in there. So fungal, bugs, stuff like that. This is kind of like a gauze. It's really brown. You can't even see what's on your tree. It's a light brown film. You just wrap your tree, keep things out, but it lets your tree heal over. So you basically, your tree will heal itself in 2 to 3 weeks. You just got to keep things out of it. I don't like sealants. The other thing, because of the animals, if you're newly planted stuff, if you're like have gophers like crazy, pack rats, things that burrow or anything like that, tree guard is really great. I've had a lot of people use it in Williams and Ballard roots. They're going to eat your root system, okay? This is a little wire mesh container. Put it around the root ball, okay? It's stainless steel, so it's not going to rust. Like you can use chicken wire and stuff. It might rust out, and eventually they'll get to it. This doesn't rust or create anything like that. It's just a little basket. You put your tree or plant into, and then it does root past this, okay? It will root outside of this and create a structure. As long as the gophers don't get the main trunk, your tree will come back and do just fine. So I've noticed they've been a problem this year. So if you're going to do anything new, I suggest just planting this if you know you're fighting gophers. Okay? Where am I at? Perfect. All right. Let me just talk about one evergreen tree that's fast growing. There's only really one, and then I'll answer questions. Okay? I notice people sometimes don't like deciduous trees. They like to lose their limbs. They look ugly. I want an evergreen that blocks people and is thick and full. The Austrian pine is kind of the only. The others grow well too, but this is the fastest. It grows like a foot, maybe 2 feet a year. And for an evergreen, that's pretty good. Okay. Loves all the environments, full sun, partial shade, very minimal watering because it holds a lot of moisture. It doesn't get a lot of animals don't eat off of it. Okay. Austrian pine. You'll see them everywhere around here. They just grow the best. Pines grow in everything. Just don't overwater it. Good drink, let it dry out. So that's just an Austrian. Grows. I think like it grows like 30 by 20. So pretty big, not crazy big, but for an evergreen. Yeah, that's that guy. Okay. The rest they're good, they're great for here, but they grow kind of slow. Questions? Anyone have questions?
Yeah, did you talk about the chelated lime?
Yeah, okay, I can. Yeah, so this is iron, liquid iron. If you notice trees are yellowing, or you've got like a really green vein, and it's a yellow tree, but a green vein, that's an iron deficiency. So because we have to water so much and so heavy, a lot of the nutrients just leach out of our soil after a few years. Sure, over the things look yellow. They kind of just lost their luster. That's just the winter taking the nutrients, but this guy, throw it on, and it will green right back up. So it's not really a fertilizer and stuff. It just greens things up fast. Chelated iron. Liquid just works the best. If you want to go slow, like for lawns or stuff, I have a granular form of iron. Helps green up lawns. Slow. I always use fertilizer first because it helps long term. But for a quick look, if you have a garden party coming up and you're like, that doesn't look good, throw this down. It will green it up. Okay, that's just what it does. I think that was all the products. I mean, last product, gypsum. I know a lot of people know gypsum. It helps break up that clay. You know, it's not foolproof. It's not going to do 100%. It's not going to do what a jackhammer does. If you have a lot of clay and you're like, I just want to give it some help, throw gypsum in, it breaks up that clay, lets water through. Okay, so doesn't do as much as the people want it to, but it does help keep the soil broken up a little bit. Gypsum. Doesn't really help once they're planted. I mean, once they're rooted in stuff, it doesn't really do the job. Then you have to just kind of create holes.
Lime will also do a very good job of that.
Yeah, I don't use lime here. It just kind of tends to burn things. We're so alkaline anyways. I don't need to make them more alkaline. Our water is very alkaline, so you'll never get your soil acidic really here. Kudos to you if you do, or at least a 6. You get 6.5. But I don't like lime because just you can burn really easily. So do the iron or gypsum. You, and then I'll get to you. Yeah. Pack rats. Yeah. BB gun? No. Pack rats. So if you don't want to kill pack rats, I do have a mole max. Okay. If you want to just push them to your neighbor's yard, mole max, you start at your house, you work your way out. Keep spreading it out and it moves to your neighbor's yard. If you want to kill them, peanut butter on a trap. I do that a lot. And, you know, I keep the dogs out of it, putting a tub over it. But if you get those just snap traps, stuff like that, peanut butter on it, it kills them out. And that's the only way I've been able to control it. Or you repel them. That's it. Small creature. So pack rats, rats, bunnies, sometimes porcupines. If you start at your house, move your way out where it pushes gophers out, pushes things out. Okay, without killing them. That's the way to do it. Yes. So best time of year to plant. Spring is really nice time, or the fall. So those mid seasons where we're kind of warm, but we're not crazy hot. It's a good time to plant because you're not watering as much. So September, March, April, things like that. You can still plant now. Now it's still a good time to plant. You're just watering more. You can. It just takes a little bit more water because it's just hot. So your soil dries out. So you can plant any time here, but spring and the fall are the best times. Yeah. Question over here or anything? Yeah. No. Okay. You, and I'll get to you.
I have a pretty much dead we can always use.
Okay.
Now we had cut down. Now it's the mix.
Yeah.
And we don't know whether we should try to replant it. It's just dead. I mean, it looks, it's bendable. It's
Okay.
nice to grow, but it just doesn't.
And it's a pine.
It's a Norwegian
Spruce.
weeping spruce.
Okay. So
And I don't know if I was thinking about taking it out of cypress.
yeah.
They go really fast and then
Yeah. So she a spot where a tree kind of died out and she put another one there off to the side, right? If it's been there 3 years and it's not done anything, I would move your tree and do it in the fall. So if you can move your tree, if you're like, I'm not happy with it after 2 years, you can move it within 2 to 3 years. You can kind of move it successfully. As much of the root ball as you can. Yeah, so I suggest for any holes you dig, because you're spending the time to dig a hole. If you can take a bucket of water, pour it in that hole, do perk test for any of the hours, that's the best. If it can drain, yeah, I know. I gotta say it. If it drains by the end of the day, you're usually okay. Okay. But if it sits there for more than a day, you got a problem and you're gonna fight root rot forever. And you either gotta dig more or you gotta push holes or move your tree. Okay. You'll be amazed how a foot of and it was solving later. So I would move your tree, plant the cypress is really good. They're more drought tolerant. Spruce here kind of are starting to burn more, I've noticed. They're fighting that heat more. So they just tend to not do so well here anymore. Or in some partial shade or more in Prescott than in the outskirts. Cypress indeed or cedars do a lot better. Okay. So for here, most trees, I mean, if you can get 20 years out of them, that's really great. 20 years is great here. Because we're so dry, the trees just have a limited sort of lifespan. These are all kind of be about the same. The more you can keep consistent fertilizing and consistent watering long term, but way shorter lifespan because they're so dry. So 20 years is probably minimum. You can get 30 or 40. I've had people had trees longer than that. They start looking a little gross, start looking a little weird. If you can keep fertilizing twice a year, watering once a month when they're established, seem like a lot, but for here it's pretty good. You can get more out of it. Yeah. That's this guy right here. These are kind of native here. This is the blue cypress, blue ice. So this gets 20 feet by 20 feet. It's a smaller version. The Arizona cypress gets 40 by 40. And it's more green than this. These grow, I'd say, maybe a foot a year, kind of slow, like super drought tolerant. Create like they're very thick. If you go to you'll see them like crazy. Okay, and here if you got, I planted 3 to block my parents' house. I live next door, but I was like, I don't need to feed your yard. I planted 3 of these because they're going to create a nice layer. A lot of people if you have a whole tree line of these already, Leland cypress is probably what they are. Don't plant a Leland. If you see someone selling Leland, do not do it. They will die here. They get a canker in them. Do Arizona or blue ice. If anyone sells you a Leland, they don't know what they're doing. Okay, don't trust them. They'll just die out. That's that guy. Okay. This is a deodar cedar. Deodar cedar. Yep, these are kind of those weepy looking trees out there. They get like 40 feet wide, but they're kind of sparse looking. They're not very drought tolerant. Most people overwater these pretty easily. A lot of new grow like a foot a year, I would say. The one thing about cedars is they will re-needle themselves. So like if you lose 50% of this tree, it's not coming back. It's not going to re-needle. It's not going to do nothing. If you lose the needles off this guy, he will re-needle himself and come back, which is super nice because if you're like, I overwatered it and it died. No, as long as it's still bendable, it's going to re-needle. Okay. But yeah, super solid. Like all this bright green is new growth. After a while, full sun, nothing eats it because it's spiky. Nothing wants to eat it. Okay. Deodar cedar. I do have, I think, oh, this is the golden deodar. Okay, deodar cedars are green. This is golden. It's probably why it's a little lighter. This guy gets like 35 by 15, so a little smaller. But yeah, these are beautiful trees.
When it's full like that, it looks kind of, thin.
Yeah.
And it gets nice and full when it gets full.
No, really. They still have a thin look to them because they're airy. The golden deodar. So it's still 35 feet tall, but 15 feet wide. It's not as wide. So great for a small yard.
And they look kind of flat when they top out.
Kind of, yeah, because they weep like this. So they're not going to be like full. They kind of weep. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Are great. Not many people grow them anymore because they just take so long to grow. They are slow, but they do just fine here. They love our weather. They do great. Minimal watering. Nothing really attacks them except for scale. So yeah, if you can find one, great. If you find it in the forest, they do not transplant easily. I've had some people try. They hate to be moved. Once you put them in a place, leave them in a place. Okay, far.
Just California forests that just
Decimated.
killed them out. That's what's stemmed a lot of the firestorms.
Yeah, we do get bark beetle. Bark beetle is another thing that goes after mostly the pines. Tree shrub drench keeps them under control. Once if you keep a tree, it brings in bugs. So if you have a neighbor's yard or some of your trees are sick, treat them fast because otherwise it brings in the scale, it brings in the bark beetle, and then you're fighting it. Okay, but this is a product I would use for that. You can't really notice bark beetle. Sometimes if your bark falls off, you'll notice some trailing lines. That's kind of bark beetle. You don't really notice it otherwise, besides your tree getting gross, looking dead. Okay, that's mostly ponderosas, pinions. It gets into. Okay. Anything else? Yes.
For trees, once they shoot out the plant.
You can try. I mean, I've had some people do with success. It's incredibly difficult. Not that I really know of. I know because they're so woody, sometimes those pups, they're hard to transplant because they don't really have a root structure once you cut it. So I have had some people put them in some water to try and root them out that way instead of just planting in dirt. That's the most successful way. Again, it's still 50-50. Yeah, things once they're cut don't like it. Anything else, you guys? This is a good class. Yeah. Last one. Yes, right on the trunk. It's the one product you'll use right on the bark because if you can get into that tree and get it on the bark, get it on the bark because it goes up through the bark layer first. Okay. No, like you can pour like splash it onto the bark, get it on there. You want to get it on there as fast as possible, right up close. Okay. I know it's counterintuitive, I know, but that's how it works. And it does. I like this product because it gets the new growth. A lot of the products that are drenches don't get that new growth, so and the insects want the new growth. This gets it as it gets older. It gets that new growth on it. Okay, this is why I like the tree shrub drench. There's other products, but that's the best one. Thanks for coming in. I appreciate it.